the background of what we're sitting in right now is our corporate headquarters. It's a 24,000 square foot building, three levels. And in fact, it's the main reason that we engaged Level 5 in the first place. The first engagement we had with Level 5 was to determine possible locations or solutions to increase our back office space. We were essentially full. We had no place to put anybody. So during that process, we did some market analysis of the local area, looked at possible sites to build a new building, sell this, lease this, something like that. In the middle of that process with Level 5, we talked about the call center, and that's where we filmed these 6 months ago. Just adjacent to our building, across the parking lot, was a Carl's Jr. restaurant that went out of business and had a for sale sign, and so we inquired and bought that. So we have a 3,000 square foot building just next to us that became our call center, which freed up enough space in this building, along with the remodel and reimagining of our space here, that gave us the extra space we need. So we didn't have to go build somewhere else. We didn't have to, lease this, move somewhere, relocate our employees, and all of those things. We kept our branch has been here for 30 years. And so all of that basically came together as a corporate remodel project that started in December of last year and finished up just a few weeks ago. So we've been under construction for quite some time here in the big building. The call center was actually finished in December. It was started last August and finished in December. And so we are just thrilled with the way it worked. It's a huge project. It's a remodel. We've had Level 5 build new buildings for us out in Plain City, a beautiful branch that came off flawlessly, under budget and on time. This remodel took longer than we thought and cost more than we thought, but that's because it was a remodel. Decisions were made along the way on the fly. We wanted to add this, do that, and those things cost money. But Level 5 was flexible enough to work with us, and we all had to kind of be patient and figure it out, and here we are. The design changed a little bit here and there when you start tearing down walls and moving things and you start thinking, hey, what if we did this? Well, the contractor, unfortunately, has to then take that idea, what if we did this, and turn that into a finished product, which takes time and money. We also, unfortunately, you can see behind me all these big, beautiful windows. The third level up here, where our executives are, and this is our boardroom, we discovered water damage. Essentially, we had black mold and some other things that had to be remediated on this level. That cost us a lot of money and about a month and a half of delays. So, that's not on Level 5. It's not really even on us. It's on whoever built the building 27 years ago and who put the windows in. So yeah, it's a different, remodels are different. And we were told that from the start, and we all understood that, but living it's a different story. There were some difficult times of just waiting and changes and orders and back orders. We're living in a time where it's tough to get supplies, it's tough to get materials. And so all of that contributed. But once again, it was worth the wait. Most people would say after this, and I even, facetiously would say, don't do a remodel, just tear it down, build something new. But in all reality, credit unions and other credit union CEOs and executives know this. We have limitations on how much real estate, how much land and building we can own. We're not allowed to just willy-nilly buy as much as we want or as much as we think we might need. The NCUA and the regulators have limitations on that, and so we have to be careful. We have to be smart. And when we started, I'll give you some numbers. When we started looking back in 2019 at purchasing land and building a 40,000 square foot building, which we felt would get us down the road 20 years, we were looking at about $15 million. For land and building, and for us, man, that was a chunk of change. Now we ended up, with Carl's Jr., with the remodel of this building, we're just in the $4.5 million range for what we have now. So in reality, Even though, yeah, it was hard and we had to live through the remodel. I mean, I did personally. My office was the last office finished, this floor. So we were home for 5 or 6 months, and everybody had to live through it. The branch, we had to keep the branch open. You know, there was a lot of, hardship, I guess, and our employees were very patient. But in the end, we're looking at a $10 million change now we don't have 40,000 square feet, but we have really, really efficient 30,000 square feet now for 40% of the cost, which allows us to then work on additional branches, which we're remodeling another branch this next year with level 5, one of our old, the Roy branch. And so that allows us, that even though, it'd be great to have a state-of-the-art 40,000 square foot building somewhere, that was a little bit too big for our britches. So it was worth the effort. It was worth the difficulties to do what we did. And, it's easier to look back now and say, oh, it was worth it. There were some trying times during it, but level 5 worked with us. They were very good. We tried to be patient. They were patient. Lots of things, lots of moving parts. But in the end, once again, we're very, very pleased with the results. We had a call center in this building in our basement level. It was pretty rudimentary, shoved together in a corner. It was not efficient. It was not attractive. It was the poor agents were down there in some pretty low grade cubicles basically, and so we knew we had to fix that. But we also, once again, we needed office space and workstation space for other back office folks, accounting, marketing, IT, all of those things. And so we didn't know what to do. We had approximately 12 to 14 agents that needed to go somewhere into a much nicer space. And if we built out that basement into the space that we needed, we would have lost one of our wings, which is about a 3,000 square foot area that is now dedicated to conference and training rooms, which is another thing we wanted to have, was expanded meeting area and training area for our staff. And so we went around and around with level 5 and designs and how to make it work, and we just couldn't shove any more people into this building. So that's where the discussions came as far as looking for additional space and building a 40,000 square foot building or a 60,000 square foot building, which the costs were astronomical. And so really finding that Carl's Jr. just through the parking lot over there was, heaven sent, was karma, was whatever, because we now have a 20-person, state-of-the-art, beautiful member service center space over there. We also took about a third of the building and built a corporate fitness center for our employees and their families to work out in. And so it's created, and so our basement now was able to be built out into our training facility that we wanted with our training department. And then we were able to rework spaces on the other 2 levels, including half of the basement, to add about roughly 30 additional seats for employees in this building. So in essence, we've increased our capacity, including the call center, by about 50 people, almost by 50%, almost a 50% increase. And we have a lot of spaces that are not occupied, but they will be over the next decade. And that was the goal, was to get us 10 to 20 years into the future, and then it's somebody else's problem where we go from there. I feel like, we've come from some pretty humble beginnings, 3 small credit unions, into what we are now. And I feel like my job, I've got about 10 years left, is to get them, down the road, and then who knows, what will be needed in 20 years. But for now, we have beautiful, efficient, open space for our employees, and we're thrilled. It's always shocking how fast you fill things up when you build them, but I think we've got 10 to 15 years in these facilities. Ultimately, there'll have to be another plan for growth, opportunities, mergers. You never know what's coming, but we feel really good about the facilities strategy we have for the next couple decades. one thing to bring up is Level 5 actually helped us buy that building. We were kind of late in the game, it turns out, that there were already 3 suitors, potential buyers for that property. And we worked with Luke from Level 5, and he was able to wiggle us in somehow and buy that for us. So that was another plus for Level 5. And then basically we just kind of laid everything out and said, okay, we've got 24,000 square feet here. We have a branch that's not going anywhere, although we remodeled that branch and it looks beautiful. And we have 3,000 square feet next door. And so, they basically told us, what do you need? How many people do you need? How big does a call center need to be? How big do you need? What do you need for back office space? What do you need for your business lending, your mortgage lending services, your IT space, your collectors, all those things. And so we laid out, current staff, and then we tried our best to project, 5, 10 years into the future growth. And so they gave us some layouts. We have the offices here are mostly laid out in kind of a bullpen setup with offices that ring each area, each suite, and then we didn't have before workstations or cubicles out in the middle. That was something we had kind of left open, and it was not extremely efficient or usable space. And so we've moved some offices. We've torn down walls. We've added glass for light and for openness and visibility. We've torn down. I mean, you can't see from here, but we've torn down all the little walls and doors that led into the different areas. So now this entire floor is open, communicative. It's collaborative in nature. We've added collaboration spaces along with the workstations, and so a lot of that came from Level 5 with and OFS. We visited the furniture company back in Indiana and looked at some of their spaces that they had created and the furniture that they had put in there that led us to kind of design what we designed. We do have workstations. We don't like to call them cubicles. Workstations is the new name for cubicles, and our folks are. It's a nice space. It's not like the old movie Office Space or whatever. They're nice workstations, and once again, we've increased our capacity, by nearly 50%, and really utilized the building. I think as good as we can. I don't know that we could redesign again and get any more efficiencies. So that's kind of how we basically took this building, chopped it up into 3 layers, and then took the 3,000 square feet there. And at the end of the day, we ask Level 5 about, hey, if we have some space left over, we'd like to do a fitness center. We'd like to give our people something that's, a little out of the ordinary from their employer. And we were able to squeeze that in too. So we got everything we wanted. We did try to group areas more efficiently in places that make sense. We have some larger departments that don't fit necessarily all in one area. We do have some other branch locations throughout the valley that have back office space. So we do have, like our collection department is over at another building. We don't love that, but that's where our repo lot is and everything, so it makes sense. But yeah, we did regroup and move people up and down and around into different areas with the additional space. We were able to get, like our mortgage services has 6 or 7 people in it. They can now all be in the same area, versus we had 3 on one level, 4 of them downstairs, and those kinds of things. Our IT infrastructure for our server room, we're now able to get all of our IT folks down there in that area where all the equipment is. So yeah, we did gain some efficiencies. The biggest one was the member service center or the call center. We now have 18, call center agents and their manager and loan officers all in one beautiful, self-contained building, and that's probably the biggest thing we gained from the remodels. Sure. But certainly we gained some efficiency that way. John White was our super here on site. Great guy from Georgia. Caden and Jason from the local office were very good. I mean, they're 15 minutes away, and so And yeah, these windows, the windows that you can see in the background, we started tearing things apart up here, tearing away the window sills and the sheetrock, and there was all this water damage and black mold on the sheetrock, and oh my word. And so essentially when that happens, I mean, construction has to halt. You know, you have to call in a remediation company. They have to come seal everything off. They come in hazmat suits and do what they do to remove that stuff. And so, and then the window frames, rather than just patch back over top of the damage, obviously the window frames were leaking, so we had to get all new window frames. And so while all that's happening, all of the work on this third level basically stops. And so for about 6 weeks, I mean, they continued to work on the lower levels, but this level just stood still while they did the windows. So super frustrating for us, super frustrating for level 5. Trying to find window contractors that can get frames that are the same color, that match, that, oh my goodness. And we almost didn't find frames that could match, which meant if these frames were brushed aluminum, well, the other 2 levels are all white. So we actually were looking at replacing all the frames on all 3 levels at one time. So yeah, a bunch of stress, a bunch of inconvenience. But really, we just, we leaned on those guys, and they worked with the contractors, and we did what it took, and it cost us a chunk of change, but now we have solid, hopefully waterproof windows. That was the biggest, but there were a myriad of, we tore down this wall, and guess what? There's a drain pipe behind this wall, or there's a main electrical pipe conduit. So we wanted to do this, well now we can't do this. And so it became, those just like if you were remodeling your house. So that was the major thing, the windows. But realistically, there's nothing on this building that wasn't touched. I mean, we painted the outside. We painted the signs. We repaired the stucco. We put a new HVAC system and boiler on the roof. I mean, it was top to bottom. Every floor covering, every wall, furniture. Yeah, everything. When we designed the Plain City branch, the new branch that was built last year out in Plain City, it's a much different design than all the rest of our branches. And similar to a lot of credit unions, we have old, traditional, bank-style branches with a fixed teller line and offices and, just the way you picture walking into a bank or a credit union. Well, we decided to go a different direction, and we talked about that a little bit before as far as level 5 bringing us designs for a more open, flow of member traffic and business to be conducted in our credit unions. So out to the Plain City branch, there's no teller line, there's no drive-up window, there's teller pods. The tellers can move and function and flow. There's cash recyclers. They're not tied to a cash drawer. They can go help members in an office. They can greet them. They can help the drive-through. So it's a really different feel, and it's been wildly successful. We worried about our members, some of the older members maybe coming in and getting confused when there's no teller line and where do I go? And it's been universally accepted, and they just really like it. So having that success, when we remodeled this building, the branch that's on our main level here was a very, very old, standard, run-of-the-mill branch. And so we basically ripped everything out, and it's a different space than Plain City, but it looks very, very similar to Plain City. We have a teller pod now. We don't use a drive-up window and a deal drawer. It's all tubes. The tellers and loan officers can mingle and walk and do their thing and use the same colors, the same patterns, the same furniture, the same look, feel, waiting area. All of those things tie in very, very closely to Plain City. Level 5 provided us a playbook or a palette of colors, designs, materials, functionality, equipment that we really like, and our members like, our employees love it, and that's why we're still working with Level 5 and moving forward even to another project. In Roy, we opted for a remodel. We may regret that, but rather than tearing down and building a whole new building, the shell of the building, the bones of it are good. They're solid. And so we're going to remodel that branch out there. So it can't look aesthetically from the outside like Plain City. It is what it is, the dimensions and everything. But we're adding all the same elements, the outside finishes, the roof line, the logos, the colors, the tile, the carpet, the teller pods. Yeah, it's a blueprint. Now, our ultimate goal in another year or two is to go plop a Plain City branch somewhere else, a brand new one in a new area. But our Roy branch that we have out there is very, very old, and it's our busiest branch. And so we feel like we need to get that spruced up and more efficient for the traffic flow, and really for the branding. When you drive by that building, it doesn't scream modern, credit union. It screams 1970-ish, bank. And so that's our focus for 2022. And then down the road, probably a year or two after that, we look to plop in. But yeah, whatever, the palette, the playbook, the architects, here it is. And so it makes it really nice to say we know what we like. There's a few tweaks. You learn things from each one. We changed a little bit of the design of the teller pods here based on the experience of Plain City. But yeah, that's where we're going. We've got 5 other branches that we may or may not remodel depending on cost and price. They're newer, nicer, but they're very traditional. So I think over time we'll get to those, but we'd like to get Roy done and then get to a new market. Those are our, 2 to 3 year plans. We're sitting in my favorite room. Yeah, this is it. You can't see this. You could describe this, the Wasatch front. Our name is Wasatch Peaks. This is the Wasatch front of the Rocky Mountains. And staring out here, I can see Mount Ogden, and I can see Ben Lomond Peak up in the north. Those are 10,000, foot elevation peaks that are out here. And this room has always existed, but it was too small and too inconvenient to use for our board meetings. And any CEO out there worth his salt or her salt, one of my biggest jobs is taking care of my board and making sure that they're involved and that they feel like these projects are a big deal. So this showcase room that we're sitting in here now can seat, 18 people at the table, and we have other seating capacities. And my board gets to sit in this room and look at this view and feel really, really good about the money they spent on this remodel. What I tell other CEOs about using Level 5, I start with a painful memory, a painful history from about 15 to 18 years ago when I worked for another credit union, and we built 3 new branches by ourselves. Essentially, we were the general. We hired a general contractor in the local community. We hired an architect. We were on site weekly, daily, meeting with, it was an all-consuming 9-month process that took the 3 executives away from what we were good at in running a credit union, and we turned into quasi, general contractors and interior decorators. And that process was so draining for me that when I came here to what is now Wasatch Peaks and we started looking at expanding and growing, I refused to go down that road. And so that's how we started looking for a design build type company like Level 5. There's others out there that we had references and we talked to. But to have somebody take us from market analysis, literally from analyzing our local community to look for branch locations, corporate admin office locations, all the way through design, building, permits, construction, post-construction, everything. I don't have to call, 20 or 30 different vendors or subcontractors. I call, Jason, I call Caden, and I say, we need this, and they do it. Now, I tell my peers as well that, you have to be willing as a CEO to, back away and let them do their job, right? It costs money to hire Level 5 to do these things. In my mind, it's well worth it, because that's not what I'm good at. I'm not good at a lot of things. I'm okay at running a credit union, but I need to stay in my lane. And so working with these guys and turning the reins over to them has allowed this to happen while we still run a credit union. And honestly, that's the bottom line. Is I know there are CEOs and executives that want to be in, they want to be on site looking at everything every day. That's not what I think my job is. And so we've been able, now in this building, I work here, so I lived through more of it than at the branch, but they've handled literally everything. In fact, we talked about Luke helped us buy property, both here and in Plain City. So it's a one-stop shop, but they still have to be a good one-stop shop. And so my experience with everybody, Luke, Dave, Jason, Caden, John, Brett, who supered our Plain City branch, has obviously been good enough that we're willing to keep moving forward and not only provide references, but actually use you guys for additional projects. I don't bid them out anymore. We originally we looked at different options, but now we're locked in, and very, very happy with the results. And like I say, I think we're a pretty good reference for you guys, but it's well earned.
Level 5, going up.